Long before history began, a river whispered through the sands of a world that did not yet know its name. That river would carve kingdoms from clay, raise gods from fire, and teach humankind how to remember. Here, on its sacred banks, time itself learned to breathe. This is where civilization awoke, where the first stories of power, faith, and eternity were born. You are standing at the dawn of Egypt, where one man will soon rise to unite a divided land and speak the first words of empire. Welcome to Whispers of the Nile, the saga of how history itself began. Before Egypt had a name, before pyramids rose from the sands, there was only the river, endless, patient, alive. The Nile carved a green heartbeat through the desert, teaching its people the rhythm of creation and destruction, the power of renewal. Each flood erased what the last had built, yet left behind soil darker and richer than before. In the mirror of those waters, humanity saw its reflection for the first time and learned what it meant to endure. Along its banks, small huts of mud and straw clung to the earth. Fires smoked in the morning, reed boats glided through mist, children laughed where herons stood still, women ground grain between stones while the river whispered beside them. And hidden within that whisper was the beginning of civilization itself. They stayed. For the first time, humankind stopped wandering. They shaped clay with their hands, baking it in open fires, marking it with red and black lines like ripples of the Nile. From mud and fire, beauty was born, and from beauty, memory. Families grew, and from families came villages. Neighbors became builders, workers, dreamers of the same river. Men guided oxen through fertile fields, women carried water in clay jars, artisans wove baskets and fired new vessels. The rhythm of survival turned into the rhythm of cooperation. And while the sun watched from above, the first heartbeat of community began to echo along the Nile. Purpose had entered the world. But every dawn has its shadow. When the first death came, they looked at the silent face of one who had once laughed beside them and wondered where the breath had gone. Could something so alive simply end? They would not accept that. In the glow of torches, they wrapped their dead carefully, placing food, beads, and water for a road unseen, as though love itself could guide a spirit home. The flame of fear became the light of hope, and the idea of eternity took root in Egyptian hearts. Life, they believed, did not end. It changed form, sailing secretly within the current of the Nile. From that faith was born the need to remember. They carved on stone and bone, tracing the shape of birds, rivers, suns. Each line spoke, I was here. I saw. I understood. Symbols became a language, language became thought. Through writing, memory conquered time, and the future found a way to speak with the past. For the first time, Egypt gave its voice to eternity, and the people began to speak not only to each other, but to the powers they felt moving through light and water. In small temples of mud and fire, they painted the sky on their walls, falcons soaring above cliffs, the golden orb that rose each morning, the river winding like a god's vein across the land. They burned oil and herbs, their chants rising with the smoke. Art became worship. Worship became art. The divine was no longer far away in the clouds. It glimmered here within stone, flame and beating heart. To believe was to create, and in creating they touched the eternal. Beyond the glowing fields the desert waited, silent and immense, and at its edges two powers stirred, the upper lands of the south beneath a white crown, and the delta of the north beneath a red one. They shared the same lifeblood of the river, yet each dreamed of ruling its flow. Two flames on the same horizon, twins of one destiny, burning apart. Priests lifted their eyes to the heavens and whispered of visions carried by the desert wind. One day a leader would rise from the southern hills, guided by the gods, bearing both crowns as one. He would join the river's children under a single name and forge a kingdom that would outlast the sand itself. And as the fires of the two realms swayed in the night, the stars above began to listen. The river murmured its secret promise. Time held its breath. The age of mud and flame was ending. The age of destiny was coming. Soon the whispers of the Nile would take shape in the voice of a man, the first king. And Egypt would awaken whole and eternal.